what does this all boil down to? Why am I talking about this? And here's the deal, guys and gals, fellow podcasters that don't want to give up because you know you have a message inside that's too magical to give up on. I want you to truly understand the power of your story, the power of your unique journey in your life, the power of your unique interwoven web of your past, your trauma, your triumphs, your education, your passions, your purpose, like everything that makes you you. That's the magic. And we forget that. And I have truly forgot that over the last few years. And why this is coming up right now is because here's the deal. I just sent my book, the first draft of my book, to be printed because I can't edit from a computer screen. I just can't do it. I need paper in my hands. So on May 29th, 2023, my book went to a self-published place, print on demand, the first draft. Why I'm sharing this with you is because in writing that book, I realized that I allow myself to go deep on the show, but writing a book was so much deeper. We forget as podcasters the power and the impact that we can make through our shows. Go back and listen to episodes 70 and 71 with Dave Jackson. He had somebody reach out that said, "Hey, Dave, because of your show, I didn't kill myself. I had plans to take my life on Halloween. And because I listened to your show, I didn't do it." And I get emotional about this because although I didn't have a plan to take my life, I was praying every night that if I didn't have a purpose on this planet, to please take my last breath because I didn't deserve to take up space or to breathe the air around me. That I didn't feel I was worth the oxygen on the planet because I wasn't good enough. And it was because of podcasting that brought me back around to understanding my worth, to understanding my purpose. My purpose has always been from day one of this podcasting thing when I launched it. My first show as Feed Your Body with Love. It's now Feed Your Business with Love. It was to create a tsunami of self-love in the world. Because when I see a tsunami come into the world, what happens? It comes over and it takes out everything that isn't nailed down. That's the garbage. It sucks. There's a lot of destruction and damage, and I'm not saying it's a good thing. But how I see it is this big old wave coming in, taking out all the clutter and giving us this beautiful, washed away, clean energy to recreate. So I wanted to be a tsunami of self-love in the world. And then I got really good at podcasting. And people started asking me to help with podcasting. Well, what happened is I dulled that part of me that said, your story is the magic. Self-love is the key to success. I dulled that so that I could show up and give you the best strategic advice of how to make money from your podcast, how to launch a podcast, how to grow a podcast. And here's what happened. I died a little inside because I lost sight of what made me unique and magical. Heck, my mastermind that I never talk about is called Podcasting for Your Soul because I truly believe that podcasting is a healing modality. And even if you're not planning on being a long-term podcaster, podcasting can tease out your story, your offer, your business like no other. I have just had this happen with three of my production clients. They started as something, they worked with me, they got some coaching, they got some feedback, they totally pivoted directions, and their shows are now blowing up because they've leaned into what makes them magnetic and magical. And here's the thing. We forget that. We go out and we're like, oh, our download numbers are so incredibly low. So we give up. We first start going out on the Google verse and we're like, oh, how can we do this? How do we grow our business? How do we grow our podcast? And then we start showing up on every single platform. Not well. We spread ourselves so thin. We get so overwhelmed. We create more and more and more and more content. We create content like a bat out of hell. We just create that content. We're pumping it out and pumping it out and pumping it out and pumping it out. And I'm like, whoa, slow your roll. Slow your roll. First off, we have to really think about what all of those platforms are doing for us. I know that someone that is on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, they want quick hits. They're not there really to learn. Maybe a little bit more on Facebook because there's master classes and things inside of groups and boot camps and all that seem to run through Facebook groups. But we're not really there to spend a lot of time with one person unless we're doing one of those mastermind type classes. We want the quick hit. Great place to nurture after you've warmed them up through your podcast. Not a great way to get them to your podcast, right? So how do we do this? And how do we switch our focus to being our personal brands, to owning our story, to owning our magic? We've got to pump the brakes on the things that aren't working. And for me, this was a hiding technique. I am so flippin' afraid to be visible in this podcasting space because I'm not one of the big boys. I don't have the big boy pants on yet or big girl pants on and standing up on stages and holding my head high because I've got so much mindfuckery going on. I think this might be the first time I cursed on this podcast, so sorry, not sorry. But that's who I am. And it's like I let go of that and I did a disservice. And I'm like, get over here. Now go over here. What is business all about? Connecting with other humans, serving other humans, and making some money from it. So for me, I had to step back and say, okay, how can I serve on my podcast? On my podcast, I'm going to give you the first step. I might give you all the steps, baby steps at a time, because I'm not into just, if you get a coaching call with me, if you want to grab one of those podcast CPR audits, this is where we look at your business, your offers, and your podcast, and we see what's not working. We reformat. We create a 30-day plan in 30 minutes, no salesy stuff on the end. If you want to work with me, you know where I'm at. You ask me about what I have. I don't ask you. 30 minutes of my time in your business to rearrange things so that it actually works. Great. Grab one, podcastcpr.com. Super easy. But once you have those things aligned, things start working easily. I forgot that. I wanted to see my downloads grow. I attached my worth to my download numbers. I totally flubbed up so many pitches that I made to be on stages this year, to be on a podcast convention stages, because I was afraid to be seen. Because I was afraid of my story and I was afraid to be judged. And it's scary. It's scary to have all those things. So I hid in creating graphics, rebranding, doing this, doing that. Well, let's try this platform. No, let's try this platform. And I toe dipped in every single stinking one of them. The only thing I have been consistent with in my business for the last 3.5 years is podcasting. And you want to know the one thing that's brought in money to my business? Podcasting. Did you know that? Did you catch that? So, that being said, what are you leaving out of your business? What are you leaving out of your lifestyle? What are you leaving out for your listeners and your audience to know the juice and the squeeze? Like, I've been struggling, guys. I get the real deal stuff. I have had a really rough few weeks. I have wanted to burn down all of my businesses. Shout out to my friend, the Samantha Parker. She's the host of The Glitter. She gives you daily doses of glitter rising your content, which means finding the good, finding fun ways to make content fun, how to embrace big energy, all the things. Samantha Parker, The Glitter. You can find her at theglitter.me, including her amazing show. But she reminded me that when it gets hard, don't burn it down this time, Jen. We've been friends for a while. And when we first met, she's like, Jen, you are a big light. You got to pull that cord, like the old school cords or the cords on the ceiling fans and stuff. You got to pull that cord down and turn on your damn light already. And it wasn't until this last time that I was ready to burn it all down, ready to burn down my production business, ready to be like, I'm not the cure for pod fade. I'm going to just pod fade. It's just going to be a hardcore stop. She reminded me, don't burn it down. Make some tweaks, make some pivots. And this is what is so cool about podcasting, is that it allows you to really open up to who you are. This is why my mastermind is called Podcasting for Your Soul, because it's a healing tool. It allows you to get through some of the visibility stuff, allows you to find your story, allows you to pivot. And it's a lot more forgiving than social media. I truly believe, because you're building a legacy, and a legacy is you. So you can go through these pivots. I've had 3 clients in the last 2 months made massive pivots in their business because they finally were like, this is how I want to show up. I want to show up as the content queen. I want to show up for trauma survivors. I want to show up and be a personal branding expert versus an Instagram expert. 3 clients that took different directions because they allowed themselves to come through by sharing their stories, tapping into their gifts, and releasing some of the clutter. It is noisy out in social media land, guys. It's going to suck in and suck in and suck in. You're going to get sucked into fantasy marketing and buy the next shiny object. I'm raising my hand right here because I've spent over $150,000 on coaches and courses that made me more burnt out than when I went in. Did I learn some stuff? Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff what I didn't want to do. Everything's always a lesson. No money wasted here because I learned a lot. I know how I want to set things up. I know how I want to run my business. But if you're going to hire a coach that's running their business the way that you're running it. I was hiring social media experts, people that built their business strictly on social media when I wanted to build my business through podcasting. See the disconnect? It's a problem. So really getting to know you is the cure for your pod fade. And allowing yourself to kind of like start pushing out the boundaries a little bit, like, okay, I'm in my little box. This is my safety zone. I'm going to push over here a little bit. Now I'm going to push over here a little bit. Now I'm going to push over here a little bit. I'm going to push over here until all of a sudden you can reach all the way out and stretch out and you can start shaking your booty and doing your little dance because you've unlocked your inner weirdo and your silly girl. That's the thing. If you stick yourself too far in a box or you start showing up like everyone else and you do the same damn interviews, like the same guest expert interviews over and over and over again. This is why I'm digging out 3 stories, because every show that I'm going to be pitching to get on, one of those stories will resonate with their audience. And then I can throw in a flair. This will be beneficial for the host because if I give that host in that one podcast episode something that I've never given on any other show, that little moment is what I'm going to direct my people to that show with. Because nobody's wants to come from my show to someone else's show to listen to the same damn story. It's not helpful. So as a podcast host, I'm getting better at digging out stories that, aren't the norms that people talk about. Talk to John Lee Dumas about sleep. Come on. Like, he's like the king of podcasting. He's like one of the OGs. Dave Jackson and I talked about how podcasting has therapeutic benefits. Like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It made it interesting for his audience to want to come and be like, oh, geez, yes, that makes sense. I want to know because I've never heard my host, the super fan, saying this about their host. I've never heard my person talk about this. Yeah, I'll jump over to her show and check it out. That's the power of storytelling. That's the power of connecting with other humans. If you are just creating massive amounts of content, putting it out there and never engaging with other people, people are what makes your business run. Yes, your content can serve. My podcasts are here to help you through some of the steps. But if you want to get from A to Z as fast as possible, that's when you're like, Jen, I know you're valuable. Here's some cash. Let's work together. I'm serving you either way. Either way, I'm allowing you to move forward and giving you support and love and guidance and helping you ask yourself the questions and teaching you the things that I learned, the do's and the don'ts and all the stuff. But when we forget that we don't need to be doing all the things, when we forget our story, when we forget all the things, that's when we fade away. And when I've been talking to people and I get people into my space, here's what's happening. They're spending about 10% of their time recording the episode. They're spending about 80% of their time creating content and editing the episode. So there's 90% of their time. That last 10%, you know what they're doing? They're spending complaining that their podcast is not being listened to. Even if you took that 10% and stopped looking at your damn download numbers and all those things and you started engaging with the people, that's where the magic's going to happen. Follow up with that amazing guest that you had on your show. Not because you think of them as a number and you want them to buy your stuff, because you want them to be in your space. You want them to be in your network. When you have networks, you get referrals. My production company started with one person. I have never, ever once shared my production services with anyone on a sales call. You know what happens? I did a damn good job for that one person. They referred me to another person. They referred me to another person. That third person referred me to 3 or 4 more people. Of those 3 or 4 people, they're like, this is really good. Somebody in that network sent me to another. And that's how I built my production company. Because I had conversations with people, I gave 2 shits about someone. I gave 2 shits about their story. I actually wanted to connect. Does that mean every single guest that comes on my show, we form this like immediate bond and it's like, the heavens part and we're BFFs? No. But that doesn't mean that they're not another human that I'm having a conversation with where I can be genuinely intrigued and interested and show up and be an active listener. I listen to so many podcasts where people just overstep their guests because they are not an active listener. They're like, boom, it's me. It's like, holy shit, slow your roll. So let's circle this plane back. If you didn't know, I'm a pilot. I was afraid to fly, so I became a pilot because, why not? Just the fun little pilot, the private pilot, but I do have my pilot's license, so that's kind of cool. But we're circling the plane back. We're going to land this plane. Your story matters. Your style matters. And you need to start connecting with humans. That is where your business is going to grow. So for me, as I'm starting to make this pitch, I'm not pitching, here's my cure for pod fade. Although that's my brand. I'm not pitching feed your business with love. I'm pitching like, hey, here's how I can serve your audience by sharing how powerful your story can be. Your story is someone's life raft. Your story is, and your voice matter. Here's how you can tap into that and turn it into a business that not only serves the masses where you get the legacy impact by serving outwardly, but that back-end client roster keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing. That's what we want. So if your business and your podcast has flatlined and you're ready to give up and you want to resuscitate it with a little CPR, and we're going to get clear on your people, your passion, your priorities, get you some pleasure in there and some play so that you can revive your revenue, grab a free 30-minute podcast CPR audit. Again, that's podcastcpr.com. And you got 30 minutes to pick this brain of mine without a sales pitch at the end. You want more? You ask and I'll tell you. You don't want more? Great. I'll send you on your way with a 30-day plan to start fixing up your show. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And that's how sales should be. I'm serving. And if you want more, then pay me. If that's all you need and that's all, that works for you, great. I'm not going to be a pressure person because I hate that more than anything. So I'm going to treat you how I want to be treated because that's what this life is all about, right? Treating humans the way you want to be treated. So I'm going to step aside, get off my soapbox, land my plane. We're going to pull back a little, get a little flare. We just touch down nice and smooth, and I'm going to let you go. So go out there, make today amazing because you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are worthy, and your voice deserves a microphone, and your story will serve someone. So go out and do the thing.